Prostitution, pornography, and the sex industry don't often come up in polite conversation, but we live in a sex-saturated society. My guests today point out that it's adversely affecting future generations. They say it's something we should be talking about. Stay with us. Shelley Lubben is a former prostitute and pornography actress from California who appeared in 30 hardcore films. Shelley's exposure to sex began at 9 years old when she was sexually abused by two older friends. Her relationship with her parents was rocky, and as a result of rebellious behavior in her teens, Shelley's parents kicked her out of the house when she was 18. With a small bag of clothes and very little money, Shelley was unsure of where to go.
I ended up at the San Fernando Valley in California, which is the porn capital of the world, and I had no idea. I sat on that curb, homeless and hungry, for a couple days, just crying my eyes out. And this man approached me and saw me crying, and he just started saying, "What happened, honey?" You know, and I just started crying and thinking, maybe Jesus has come to rescue me with this nice man, you know. And he just held me and let me cry. And it was the first time an older man had really held me affectionately. And then he slowly lured me in and suggested that there was a nice man across the street who saw me and thinks I'm pretty, and he could get me some money if I would make love to this man. And I was, okay, I'm a lot of things, but I'm not a prostitute, you know. And then just for a second, I just was like, you know what? A voice told me, God doesn't care, your parents don't care. And I thought, yeah, why should I care? And so I sold myself for $35 into the sex industry. I was in shock what was happening to me, and you just kind of go numb and check out. And I just started selling myself to anyone I could find on the street, just literally going into mechanic shops, trying to survive, offering sex acts for like $50. I mean, I was in shock. I had no idea how I was going to eat.
For the next year, Shelley worked as a prostitute, learning how to lie and to manipulate men for every last dollar. But Shelley was faced with a life-changing decision when one client left her pregnant.
I was like beside myself. What am I going to do? I'm living in a hotel, a little hotel in downtown Los Angeles, and I just kept looking at my stomach like, you know, what am I going to do? And I thought, you know, a voice comes in, well, you could probably have an abortion, but I knew in my heart I could never kill my child. It was by the grace of God, but I just knew there's just no way I can do that. And I couldn't take another human life. I decided I was going to get a job as a stripper, and I was going to keep my baby, and I was going to support my baby. After I had my baby, I said, you know, I'm never ever going back to prostitution ever again. So I went back to stripping at another club. You know, you have to move around a lot in the sex industry to survive because you become old meat after a couple months. And so I kept going to different clubs, and then I became so desperate for money that I actually sold breast milk in the men's coffee club. This customer says, why don't you give me some breast milk, because breast milk's sweet in my coffee. And I was like, oh, you know, $20, sure. So I had an angle that none of the other girls had. It's really sad how pathetic, how low I had to go just to survive.
When we return, Shelley's will to survive leads her to seek work in the darkest of places, the porn industry. For the next 6 years, Shelley juggled work as a stripper and prostitute to support herself and her daughter. She was constantly threatened by men and developed an addiction to drugs and alcohol. One night while working at a strip club, Shelley got an offer that seemed like an easy way out of the exhausting and dangerous lifestyle she was living.
So one night I was in a strip club dancing, and a porn star came in the club and said, hey man, you're a hot dancer. You know, you'd be awesome in porn. And I'm like, porn? And she says, well, you'll make like $2,000 a movie, and it's legal. And I went, legal? That's pretty good for someone who's been ditching the cops for 6 years for prostitution. I went, legal? I said, well, is it safe? You know, because you don't use condoms in porn. She goes, of course, we're the cleanest people in the world. We get a test every 30 days for our AIDS test. So I went, Okay, I guess I'll have to do this. If I can just work one movie, I won't have to dance every night for 8 hours and be so tired trying to take care of a baby. But porn was a rude awakening for me. It was way worse than anything I'd experienced in the sex industry. It's just Satan's final frontier.
Porn is a multi-billion-dollar industry that continues to permeate households in today's society. Pure Hope is one group trying to combat the hold the porn industry has on today's culture. Its mission is to expose the truth and provide solutions for our sexualized culture. I sat down with Vice President Noel Boucher to discuss the implications of increased sexual content on today's youth and families.
There's no question that we are living in a hypersexualized environment, and I don't think anyone disagrees with that. We are living in what some people call a pornified age. Right now, it's estimated that the average young person is exposed to 14,000 sexualized images and messages a year through the media. That's everything from what's on broadcast television, to cable, to films, to music, pornography on the internet, images on the internet. And when you have things happening, like 90% of young people before the age of 18 being exposed to pornography, you have unbelievable imagery that is shaping your mind and how you think about the subject of what sex is, how it's to be used, and then, ergo, your very identity as a human being.
We hear the term sex industry. Could you define that for us?
Basically, though, we have a global sex industry. We define it as every form of commercial sex, which starts with pornography, goes to stripping, goes to prostitution, goes to trafficking. It's the payment to a person for a sex act. And this is an industry that is immense in its proportions. Again, it spans the globe. Estimates are that perhaps it generates $80 or $90 billion a year. In the US, the pornography industry is estimated to be $6 to $12 billion a year, larger than all three major sports leagues in terms of revenue. This is what we're talking about when we're talking about the commercial sex industry that is really shaping society, shaping media, shaping our attitudes and beliefs and behaviors.
The life of a porn star isn't as glamorous as the industry makes it out to be. Shelley's testimony paints a picture of intimidation and cruelty. She says actresses are bullied and even physically harmed while on set. And as Shelley found out, the physical risks can be life-altering.
They started putting me in scenes that were with harder sex, and I'd be like, no way, there's no way I'm doing that, and then you show up to this set and they tell you you're gonna do it, and I'm like, I'm not doing that. They're like, no, you will do it, you will not get paid, and you'll be blacklisted, and and I needed the money, and I was like, wow, and they're offering you drugs and alcohol to get through the scene. You gotta keep in mind, these movies are filmed in private locations on a mostly male set. You're intimidated. I was like, geez, where's my advocate? You say no to something, they're like, you're not gonna say no. Whatever piece I had left in me in the sex industry died on the porn set.
At what point did you think, Shelley, that you needed to make a change?
I would have just kept going till I died. I didn't even care. But what happens, I got burned. After about 30 movies, I woke up one morning really sick, like a fever of 103. And I looked in the mirror and there was sores all over my mouth, in and out. I had no clue what it was. I thought, is this AIDS? Is this HIV? And then I went to the clinic, just some Indian doctor, and he checked me out all over and he goes, oh my gosh, you have a terrible case of herpes. I'm like, what's herpes? What do you mean herpes? What is that, And that's a non-curable disease. He tells me that I'll have it the rest of my life. I'm sitting there devastated going, what are you telling me? They told me I would be kept safe. So I was devastated. And I actually went home and took as many prescription pills as I could find to kill myself. I didn't care anymore.
You just wanted out. Huh?
I didn't care. And
what kept you from dying?
God, again and again, of course.
Coming up, Shelley finds the courage to leave the porn industry. Shelley Lubben was a rising star in the porn industry under the name of Roxy, but despite her so-called success, she was depressed and suicidal. Then she met a man who was interested in her, and not just for sex. Garrett was a preacher's son dealing with emotional turmoil of his own, but he and Shelley formed a strong friendship and rediscovered faith in God. When Garrett asked Shelley to marry him, she didn't see any better options. Little did she know, marrying Garrett would change her life.
We went to the city hall, and I remember walking up to city hall, just kind of out of it. So I go to the lady, how much is it for the marriage license? She goes, $35. And all of a sudden, I was like, and God spoke to me. He says, $35 to get in the sex industry and $35 to get out. And I was like, oh my, I was like overwhelmed because I knew it was God. And I was so scared because I knew all the pain I had inside me it was years and years of trauma, and I knew that how bad it was, and I knew that I would have to face that.
As a result of Garrett's military job, Shelley and her new husband moved out of California to Seattle, Washington. While there, years of trauma surfaced, and Shelley had a difficult time coping. But a powerful church community welcomed the couple and helped them heal from their physical and emotional wounds. Several years and 2 beautiful daughters later, Shelley and Garrett were faced with the decision to move back to California.
But after 8 years, I was completely and totally healed from the sex industry. Totally transformed. I wasn't even that woman. And I swore I'd never go back to California. I was like, I will never. My husband goes, but there's a really great job in Fresno. I'm like, I don't care. So I picked Texas. I wanted nothing to do with California. And as soon as we got there, it was horrible. And God made me move back to California. And but I swore I would never get any closer to the porn industry than that. So I had all this, But as time went on, God began to speak to me and tell me, you should share your story online. I'm like, no way. I got it made right now. I have my children, all the people, or all the moms in Christian school, or my kids, they think I'm a good mom, the cupcake queen. They don't know my past. And God says, it was strong. So I figured, well, no one will find it. No one will find it. I'll just, maybe a couple prostitutes will find it. I didn't, market or anything. All of a sudden, men start writing me, of all people, saying, thank you so much for your story. It totally healed me. I had no idea what I was contributing to watching porn. Thank you for your story. I'm addicted to pornography. Your story helped me to get free. Thank you, Shelley, for giving your story on your website. When I went there, I prayed, and God healed me from pornography. I'm like, what is all these people that need healed from pornography? I had no idea that there was a porn addiction going on. So God literally raised up an ex-porn star during a porn addiction.
Shelley was surprised to discover the large number of people who are battling porn addictions every day. It's a serious problem rampant in today's society and is having frightening effects on families and unborn children.
Noel, do you think that the sex industry is responsible for an increased number of abortions?
I don't think there's any question about that. The sex industry has had huge effects on our society's views of sex and the sexual act. Not only is it okay to have sex, not only is pregnancy or health concerns not something to be thought about, but if they do happen, there are easy solutions. One of them is to end the pregnancy, to take this life. We are commodifying people as sex objects. And one of the outcomes when you start to commodify human beings, you begin to see at every stage of life the person that way, including the person in the womb. It's a commodity. It's not something that is to be valued, to be cherished, something that has rights, something that needs love and attention even then. It's something to be dealt with.
Noel, do you think the sex industry has affected families?
We see families falling apart all across the country, all across the globe, because of infidelity, sexual addiction, that are directly tied to the consumption of pornography.
Well, what about those who say a little bit of pornography in a marriage spices up the married life?
It's a lie that pornography spices up the marriage bed, because you are bringing people and others into a situation that only thrives when it is intimate and when it is exclusive.
Sex was a design, it's supposed to be beautiful and shared and have love and intimacy, but nowadays pornography doesn't teach about love or intimacy. And I know married couples who write me and say, well, I like to watch porn, it helps my marriage. And I go, why are you watching sexually diseased mentally ill people have sex on camera, because that's what they are. And by the way, divorce is rampant throughout the porn industry. If someone does get married, there's almost no one married in the porn industry. So I tell people who are married, why are you getting marital advice from these kind of people? And so I brought that into my marriage, and my husband was pretty innocent, you know. And it was, the hardest part for me was the intimacy. I couldn't receive love. I was so distorted. And that's how all these kids are being raised today. I mean, kids today are being spoon-fed images of violent sex, and they think that's normal.
What can they do to protect themselves?
One of the things men need to do is realize that they themselves are being exploited. We have to rebel against that. Men have to make a decision that we are going to lead courageously, we are going to pursue a moral and virtuous life that not only leads to our own thriving, but the flourishing of everyone around us.
In 2008, Shelley and Garrett founded the Pink Cross Foundation, a nonprofit organization dedicated to reaching out to porn industry workers. It offers emotional, financial, and transitional support.
You know, God has me reaching out to women in the porn industry, because at first the porn industry discredited me and says, she never did porn, she's a nobody. They try to discredit my voice, so God says, get some more voices. So I said, I will. So I went and started rescuing women out of the porn industry, and now we've helped over about 50 women come out, and probably half of them have told their stories, and now we testify Congress, state capitol, and I've been the person who's been able to connect sex trafficking with pornography. You know, a lot of people, you know, they think that, other women enjoy it. I go, no. There's been a terrible mistake or misunderstanding here. The women do not enjoy making porn. This is the biggest facade that has ever happened, really, to our nation and world, pornography.
In a moment, we'll hear Noel and Shelley's hopes for the future in today's sex-saturated culture. It's no mystery we're living in a highly sexualized culture, but the solution to this problem doesn't just lie in attacking the porn and sex industries. Parents can be a source of protection and solution if they have the courage to openly talk to their kids about the sexual content they're being bombarded with in society.
The biggest problem I see that happened to my parents and parents in this world today is they just want to hide their heads in the sand and ignore what's going on. So I talk to my daughter, communicate why it's important to wait. And my husband, he's affectionate with my daughters. I'll remind him. Wives, remind your husbands, hey, put your arm around our daughter more, make sure you say I love you. The father is actually supposed to teach the intimacy to the daughter to prepare her for marriage, So, I want my daughters to feel comfortable. I don't want them to feel like on their married night they have to act like a porn star, because the only sex they know about is what the husband who's addicted to porn tells them to do. So it's it's a matter of educating and communicating with your child. In this day and age, parents have to do that, or they're going to bring years and years of heartache to their child. And they're responsible. I hold parents responsible for what is happening to this culture.
One of the things that we talk about with parents is sexual education begins at birth, because this education is about modeling. Our kids, they see what we are modeling, so we need to be modeling an approach to sexuality that has integrity and that has wisdom. That's the starting point. Parents need to talk to their kids about it. The second one then is putting the things in place in their home where they're going to protect their kids. A couple products we recommend are Covenant Eyes. Another great one is Safe Eyes. There are software packages out there to create an environment in your home where there's accountability, there's openness, and there's controls on the content that's coming in. I'm very optimistic about the future. I'm seeing the darkness increase right now. I'm seeing despair increase. But I think as despair increases and as darkness increases, the light shines all the more brightly. When we do our seminars and our conferences, one of the things we find is the most influential thing is for people just to be in the same room together talking about this subject. When you bring people together and talk in an authentic and true way about human sexuality and the beauty of it, you begin to see power and you begin to see movement.
What do you think it'll take to get a sexual revolution back to the point where sex is withheld inside marriage?
Well, I do kind of think that God might be using a porn addiction to bring people to their knees. You know, and it says in Romans that God gave them over to the desires of their heart. You want it? Fine. So now all these men and even women are crying out, I am so addicted. And I know I get thousands of emails. I'm so addicted, I can't stop. I sit there for hours and hours. I've lost my job. I've lost my wife. You know, I'm like, everybody's being brought to their knees. I remember when I was brought to my knees. And that's when people cried out for God. And that's what's happening. I'm hearing people cry out for God. I'm hearing them. They're hungry for something. They're hungry for something lasting and something good. But, you know, people realize pornography does nothing but cause destruction. And so, you know, one way or another, they're going to be brought to their knees. So the truth is coming out.
Shelley has put a name and a face on the sex industry, which is a cancer. It maims, kills, and destroys everything in its path. But Shelley and Noel have also given us hope for our nation, for our children, and for future generations. Thanks for watching.
In today's culture, there are those who are waging a war against the porn and sex industries. As a reminder to remain porn-free, the Pink Cross has created this inspiring dog tag. This week, it's my free gift to you. So please visit our website at facinglife.tv to ask for yours. We've also compiled a list of valuable resources for parents and others to combat pornography's attack on society. Go on the offensive and get equipped to counter the sex industry. And be sure to order a copy of today's powerful episode on DVD to share with others.